Happy Monday. Welcome back to Mets Daily. I'm your host, Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Live on all social media. Make sure you smash that thumbs up on the video. Hit that subscribe button below. Hit that share button. Welcome to Mets Daily, a new week, Monday, January 12th, 2026. A fairly busy weekend in the baseball world, with the big news being Alex Bregman, which we'll get to in a second. But another Kyle Tucker update. At this point, sign somewhere, bro. I mean, now that Bregman is the first kind of domino to drop in the free agent Scott Boras big money sweepstakes, Tucker seems to be happening soon. And Tucker, Bellinger, two names the Mets connected to. Bellinger, 5 years, $30 million plus from the Yankees. The Yankees feel like they are out on him. So we'll see. Do the Mets swoop in and give him a higher AAV shorter term deal? Would he take that? Because listen, Cody Bellinger's not getting 7 years. Nobody's giving him 7. 5 is a generous offer by the Yankees. If I'm him, I take that. But does he want to take 3 with opt-outs for $40 million a year per se? We'll see. But Tucker reportedly met with the Mets in the past week, either in person or Zoom. He's also met with the Blue Jays and Dodgers. So those are the 3 teams in on Tucker. We haven't heard about the Yankees. It's down to the Mets, the Blue Jays, and Dodgers. So the Mets are in this thing. I know a lot of people want to say they're out. Why would he ever go to the Mets over the Blue Jays? Well, listen, the Mets have the luxury of saying, hey, we're going to give you 40 to 45 million a year, but we only want to give you a couple of years. Where the Blue Jays are probably saying, hey, we'll give you 5 or 6, but we'll give you 33 a year, 35. We don't know the exact numbers. But I get it. Why would you go to the Mets when you go to the defending AL champion, potential World Series contender Blue Jays for a longer-term contract? Well, listen, does he want to do it in New York? Does he want to take more present day? There's a little bit more the Mets can maybe do financially in the short term than maybe other teams can do. Now, the Dodgers, if they're offering similar, why wouldn't you just go there, win a ring, win 2 rings, maybe win 3 rings, and, be 7th fiddle? There's not a lot of pressure. Yes, it's LA, but there's so many stars on that team that Tucker wouldn't face all that much pressure. Where if he goes to the Mets, there's a lot of pressure on him. There's Lindor and Soto, yes, but Mets fans are losing their minds. How are we going to replace Pete? How are we replacing Nemo? How are we replacing Diaz? That Tucker would definitely help the Mets, but the pressure will definitely be on Kyle Tucker in New York City. Does he want to play in New York? None of us really know that. We know the Mets can offer a lot of money, but does he want to be here? Does he want to be in New York? So that's what it could come down to, but the Mets are in this thing, and it feels like they got a shot. And I think Kyle Tucker, you talk about Lindor, Soto, Kyle Tucker, I don't want to hear the name, Peter. I want everyone to just shut up about the guys that they lost if they go sign Kyle Tucker, because that is a big boy move by the New York Mets. Now, I think Kyle Tucker is a bit overrated. I do think he's going to be overpaid, but that doesn't mean he's not a great player. So if I'm the Mets, I'm going for this thing. And if you don't get him, you got to start thinking about plan B and what's next. And to me, the Alex Bregman deal, him leaving the Red Sox, he goes to the Cubs. What a night for the Cubs. What a night for Chicago. They signed Bregman, and then the Bears come back from a double-digit deficit to win and move on in the playoffs in the NFL, and a really good NFL playoff weekend with 4 great games, 1 bad game, the Patriots game. But, that Alex Bregman deal to the Cubs, by the way, $70 million deferral, so the Cubs pay some later, which I think that's a good deal for them. The Red Sox, they gave 5 for 165. They thought they really had a shot. He leaves for the Cubs, and that leaves you thinking, can the Mets and Red Sox now make a deal with Alex Bregman gone, with them not really seemingly in the running for Tucker or Bellinger? That's a team that could probably use another infielder, and the Mets have an abundance of them, whether it's they want to put Mark Vientos at third or they can DH Mark Vientos. And right now, if you look at the Red Sox depth chart, there is a chance that Jarren Duran is their DH. If Jarren Duran's the Red Sox DH and, he's under team control 3 more years, could the Red Sox say this? We would love Mark Vientos, be our DH, give us a Brandon Sproat and maybe a Jacob Reimer, and we'll give you Jarren Duran. Because to us, we have a lot of good young outfielders. To me, it makes a lot of sense. Now, the Mets have to see if there's a personality fit when it comes to Jarren Duran. Do they think he's a fit? Obviously, he's had, cursed out fans. There's been some drama with him. But when you talk about Jarren Duran, you change your lineup. And the Mets would have the ability to go Duran, Lindor, Soto at the top. And then maybe you get Tucker, and that's your cleanup. Maybe Polanco 5th, and then you work from there. But you have to think the Mets and Red Sox need to have a conversation about a potential deal. And if it's not Jarren Duran, if you don't want to talk about trading the farm, if you want to say Vientos and another prospect. How about Wilyer Abreu? This is a guy that just won the Gold Glove in back-to-back years. He's an elite defensive. He's an elite fielder in the outfield. A guy who's played mostly right field. So you would either put him in left. He's played 17 games in left, or you put him in right and move Soto to left. Which I don't know if the Mets want to do this early in Soto's 15-year deal. But Wilyer Abreu is another name to watch. 22 and 69, 247, 317 on base, 786 OPS. Again, 2 Gold Gloves. He's got power. He's got pop. He's an elite fielder. When you talk about run prevention, Wilyer Abreu could be a guy that's not going to break the bank. Now, listen, I get it's not that exciting. I would argue Jarren Duran is much more exciting. This is a guy at an 8.7 WAR in 2024, 4.7 WAR in 2025. I would rather Duran, but the Mets say, hey, we'd rather, give up less prospects, give us Abreu. I got to think the Mets and Red Sox should talk. It just feels right. With Bregman gone, the Mets have an abundance of young talent. Luis Angel Acuna on Saturday, by the way, in winter ball just hit 4 homers in a game. Could the Red Sox say, hey, we'd love an elite infielder defensively. Give us Acuna, give us Sproat, and maybe a Reimer or Wenninger, and we'll give you Jarren Duran. In that case, I would think the Mets say, all right, we don't need now a Tucker or Bellinger. We're going to put Jarren Duran in center, Benjamin Taylor in left, or vice versa. And then maybe, hey, we trade for Yandy Diaz now. Financially, the Mets can do a lot. If they go say, we will trade for Yandy, split him at first and DH with Polanco. We will make a deal with the Red Sox, get Duran, there's our outfielder, and then we have that rest of the money to go get an ace. Whether it's Framber, you probably wouldn't trade for Peralta, who I'll talk about in a second if that's the case. But, man, I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the comments below. It just feels the Mets and Red Sox should have a conversation. Because if Duran's your DH, to me, he's better served as an outfielder. And the Red Sox could use maybe infield depth. Now, Vientos, again, not good defensively. You got Marcelo Mayer there at third right now. Is he ready? Do you think he's ready? If I'm the Red Sox, I'm saying, hey, either give us Ronnie Mauricio in a package or give us Vientos in a package. And that solves some holes for us. We move on from Duran. It feels like, that might not be a long-term fit with Duran there. So I'm fascinated to see if the Mets and Red Sox get a deal done. What about the Mets, Nationals, Brewers? Could the Mets get a deal done with one of them for starting pitching? Mackenzie Gore has been reported as the name of the Nationals the Mets are talking with. The price, according to our guy Pat Regazzo of Mets on SI, is astronomically high. I'm not giving up a lot for Mackenzie Gore. I'm sorry. You got Sean Manaea, you got a lefty. Mackenzie Gore he's not an innings eater, and the Mets need an innings eater. To me, he just is not an exciting name. When you talk about needing a frontline starter, I don't know if I view him in that light. 159, 166, 136 innings the last 3 seasons. He's not a guy that's going to touch 200 innings. Yes, he made an all-star team. But to me, if you're talking about a frontline starter, I'll pass on Mackenzie Gore. Oh, don't look at his record. He pitched for the Nationals. They stink. But I'm going to pass on him. Now, Freddie Peralta, I'm not going to pass on if he's available. Reportedly, the Brewers want MLB-ready starting pitching for Freddie Peralta. And if you're the Mets, you're like, hey, can we offer you a Brandon Sproat? Listen, I know the Mets need to keep young talent, but they can't keep everyone. And if you're comfortable with Tong and you like Tong's ceiling, keep Tong, trade Sproat, or vice versa. If you'd rather trade Sproat, keep Tong, do that too. But if you're the Mets, you're going to deal one of these guys. You can't have 9 starting pitchers because you still have Christian Scott. Maybe you say Christian Scott, but I can't imagine teams are asking for him until they see him pitch coming back from Tommy John. So, Freddie Peralta would be great because, again, he is not going to cost you much financially. He's under deal. Now, this is for a rental. Remember, you're saying, hey, I'm going to part with all those years of Sproat for a rental, and Peralta is going to cost you $8 million. So, for only $8 million, you would have to give up a lot. But could they take a Sproat, Acuna, Reimer, Sproat and Acuna, Sproat, Wenninger? No, I don't know. Like our guy Ernest Dove, you don't want to part with Jack Wenninger. That's fine. Okay, Sproat, Reimer, Vientos, Sproat, Acuna, Will Watson. Do you give him Sproat and Watson? You're going to have to give up a decent package. Freddie Peralta is an innings eater. He is a frontline starter. You could call him an ace. You can call the guy an ace. But what do you think, Mets fans? Does Mackenzie Gore intrigue you? To me, I'll pass. But Freddie Peralta for $8 million, yes, it's a rental, but that's the frontline arm you may need. If you say, hey, I don't want to give Framber 30, 35 million. I don't want to give Ranger Suarez 25, 30 million. I'll trade for Peralta. That lets us get Tucker. Then you're talking about Tucker, Peralta. To me, the ideal trio is, say, Tucker, Peralta. You get McGill in a package with the Brewers. That would be great too. But Tucker, Peralta, trade for Yandy Diaz. And then if you need wiggle room, trade Kodai Senga. Those are the three moves to me that make a whole lot of sense. Trade for Peralta, $8 million. Sign Kyle Tucker, high AAV, short-term deal. That's probably 40. Maybe you work around with some deferrals and some signing bonus money to get that present-day value down. You trade for Yandy Diaz, who will cost you $12 million. You move Senga's $15 million this year, next year. I would think a team would take Senga. I know a lot of people think Senga, oh, no one wants him. $15 million for Kodai Senga is not a lot of money. Again, I will say it again. Frankie Montas got paid $17 million to walk away. Kodai Senga can give you more than Frankie Montas. I guarantee you that, even if he does get hurt. So that's my trio. Peralta, Tucker, Diaz. We'll see on Yandy. It doesn't feel like the Mets want on the first baseman. I think that would be the best for the roster. Let me know what you guys think of those deals. But Peralta makes a lot of sense. And to me, the Mets and Red Sox, a trade makes a lot of sense. Whether it's Jaron Duran or Wilyer Abreu, one of those two, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Mets and Red Sox to make a deal. We'll get back to your comments on tomorrow's show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Smash that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. We'll read your comments on tomorrow's Tuesday show. We'll have a guest later this week. Thanks for watching Mets Daily. Follow me at Jake Brown Live, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody.